Well, without any further ado, let's have Senator Edelman. Let's start 103 and 104, then 124. Tell us what he's thinking.
Where would you like me to sit?
I think we've got to use the microphone officially.
And I actually...
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry if I hope no one was waiting.
No, we're all together on time.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm here to present 3 bills, and I'm not sure that I know what order you have them on your agenda, but I'd like to, with your permission, present them jointly because...
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
This is the annual package of revisor bills, which are produced each year by the Georgia Code Revision Commission, of which I am one of the co-chairs. Chairman Willard is the chair from the House side. I know this is a new committee, so if you'll indulge me, I'll take a few seconds to explain the process because based on this year, I would expect each year these bills would come to this committee in the House. The Georgia Code Revision Commission is a statutory creature whose primary purpose is to identify typographical errors, consistency and numbering errors, non-substantive errors that are in the Georgia Code, and to make recommendations to the Georgia General Assembly to revise the code. The shorthand, as I've already said, for these bills are the code revisor bills. The best way to think of them really is the typo bills. The reason you will each year have most typically 3 different bills is because the law requires that bills related to retirement issues be separate from other bills. So to the extent there are revisions necessary in the retirement provisions of Georgia law, that has to be a separate revisor bill. As we know so well, bills that relate to election matters, because the state is covered by the Voting Rights Act, also have to be separate bills and indeed have to be pre-cleared by the United States Department of Justice. So as not to hold up all the other revisions, we do the elections code typo corrections in a separate bill. And then there's the more general revisor bill. Those are the 3 bills you have before you. Before I respond to any questions, I want to recognize the representatives from the Office of Legislative Counsel who really do the real work of the Georgia Code Revision Commission. They've done another excellent job this year, not only producing the revisor bills, but also working through the very difficult process of renewing the state's contract with the company that publishes the Georgia Code, provides the online services and the like. With that, I'm available for any questions, and I think I speak for the Office of Legislative Counsel. They'll be glad to respond to your questions as well.
All right. Well, I hope you're ready. I asked the Speaker for the finest lawyers, and he put a few on the committee. So I'll ask any of the committee members if they have any particular questions. Mr. Lane.
I guess just a general question. Appreciate all the work that goes into this. I know you're covering a lot of territory when you cover the Georgia Code. Are there any changes that would be considered substantive changes when you do these?
There are not, and I think we are prohibited from making any substantive changes. It's not to suggest they're immaterial, but oftentimes when bills pass on the last day, for example, when you're passing 2 bills that change the same code section, and they're moving through the legislature and maybe passing on the last night almost simultaneously, there's numbering problems that occur. You may be adding 2 sections to a subsection that only has 1, and both bills would call it B, when one would have to be B and the other would have to be C. Those are the types of things you see. I would not consider that to be substantive.
If I might follow that up, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I glanced through this morning and looking real fast at it. Section 45 seemed to add a provision for Civil War Commission to that code section. Did I read that incorrectly, or can you explain that?
I think that was a reference that already exists in the code. Help me with the page number. I want to make sure we're talking about the same page and line. Page 14 of the general bill.
Page 14,
Right.
line 15.
Right. That's yeah, that's a case where elsewhere in the code it provides for treatment of this already existing Civil War Commission, but in order to make it consistent, we included it with the list of all the other commissions where expenses are treated this way. And I defer to Mr. Allen if he has anything he wants to add to that.
Please.
In Code Section 50-7-64, which deals directly with the Civil War Commission, it states in subsection C, the members of the commission shall receive a daily expense allowance and reimbursement for transportation costs as provided for in Code Section 45-7-21. This is only make the list all-inclusive.
I figured it had a simple answer, but I appreciate it. That's all the questions I have. Thank you very much.
Representative Abrams?
Just a couple of technical questions, either to Senator Edelman or to the representatives from Legislative Council. My first question is simply a perfunctory one. With Scrivener's errors, the distinction between the absence of the space between drivers and education, are these not things that Legislative Council or the clerks can correct themselves? Do all mistakes made, are all Scrivener's errors required to be adjusted by law? Or is there any leeway to allow those to be corrected by the clerk, who's actually responsible for typing and codifying?
I'll give you my understanding, and then please, Mr. Allen, pipe in. What we're dealing with are the errors that actually get published in the code. Some Scrivener's errors can be picked up, and the most minor can be changed prior to the publication. What you're looking at are revisions to errors that made it all the way into Georgia's published code. Is that correct? Sure.
Anything that gets published in the code can be corrected in one of two ways. One is through the revisor bill, and one through code commission notes, which are statutorily authorized for the Code Revision Commission to make. The changes that can be made through the code commission notes are limited.
And what can be done, but there is the capacity to adjust before, once it's passed out of the House, or once it's passed out of the General Assembly, but prior to publication, there is some flexibility about making corrections?
On behalf of the Code Revision Commission, a lot of what you see in the revising bill is driven by which volume is going to be replaced in the upcoming year. The Code Revision Commission annually approves which volume is going to be replaced, and we direct a lot of our changes in the revising bill to those volumes.
And my second question is just, again, for education. Is there a style manual that we use? Because I'm concerned about the consistency. I noticed that there are a lot of capitalization or dash usage or punctuation changes that are in the difference between the Chicago style manual or the American style manual.
The Code Revision Commission adopted the style and code in 1979.
Okay.
We've tried to conform to it ever since.
Okay, thank you.
Explain that to
We're
me
not
again, what she
required-
was just asking. I mean,
But let me add. I'd like to add something to that. But no legislator is bound by that. Any bill you write, you can write it in the style you like, and if the Georgia General Assembly passes it into law and the governor signs it in the style you like, then that is the law. The Code Revision Commission it's not the function of the Code Revision Commission to go through and restyle laws where they are grammatically correct and clear and consistent. Most of what we're doing is for purposes of making two bills fit together. That's the hard work of the Code Revision Commission. And the Civil War Commission, I think, issue is a good one.
but in practice, everybody uses the style you use. If I have a bill, then I
They're
go to you and I say, this is what I want. So what style is this? What do you call it?
The Commission adopted a style manual, which our office uses, and adopted back in 1979 with the code, work on the recodification. And if I may elaborate, one thing we strive for, and certainly we do not rewrite for style of language. but for things such as punctuation, hyphenation, things like that, we try to be consistent, so if someone is searching through the code for a particular term, they won't have to look for two different terms.
Your driver's education example is a good one. It should appear the same way throughout the code. So if you're doing a word search, you don't have to search driver's -education. Driver's education is one word, and driver's education is two words.
So if a kid gets something wrong in English class, they can say, well, I'm just using a different style. Oh, okay. All right. Well, you learn something every day. Representative Crawford, Representative Abrams, do you have any more questions?
Thank you.
Representative Crawford, do you have anything?
I have no questions, but I'll figure out the motion at the appropriate time.
Can we we have to make a motion, we have to vote separately on all these?
I believe so. I believe
Yeah.
each one.
I would entertain a motion for Senate Bill 103.
Move to pass.
Here, second. Any other discussion? All in favor will say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion carries. I would be ready to entertain a motion on Senate Bill 104.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to pass Senate Bill 104.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And I'll entertain a motion on Senate Bill 124.
I move to pass Senate Bill 124.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Senator Edelman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if tradition holds, I think it would be appropriate for Chairman Willard to handle these bills, although I defer to your judgment.
That will be fine, and we'll leave it in his able hands.
I appreciate it. I would say this about the Code Revision Commission. It I think, can be fairly characterized as cruel and unusual punishment, but for the opportunity to work with the people who work in Sewell's office, who are really just excellent lawyers and great public servants. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank everybody for being here. Thanks. Meeting adjourned.